when I'm in school and looking at all the other kids, I feel like I've lived longer than them and seen things that they haven't even thought of.
Elsie is a unique individual. She is her, and she is nobody else.
She has the energy, the determination, and the will to fight on and keep fighting.
Elsie was 5 years old when she was first diagnosed, and she had some flu-like symptoms. They were telling us it was a virus, and we weren't quite sure. So that's how we ended up in the ER.
I remember just feeling like very sick and not wanting to do much.
They had run blood work quite a bit, and by the time that they moved us into this trauma room, that's when I think Kevin was like, yeah, something bigger's going on. And that's when they broke the news that she has leukemia.
We learned it was AML about 2 weeks after diagnosis, which the doctor told us she would end up needing a transplant to survive.
She had about 3 to 4 rounds of just chemo, and by March, we were looking at her first stem cell transplant.
Eli was born about a month after she was diagnosed. They ended up using his cord blood for her first stem cell transplant.
I had a normal life, besides doctor's appointments, it was a normal life for us. And then that's when she had relapsed. And then that's when we headed out to Seattle, and we got on a more of a targeted drug therapy. Our current oncologist at that time, Dr. Batla, she was the one who referred us. She knew that in Elsa's unique subtype of AML that we were really needing to look outside of the box. And that's what brought us to St. Louis Children's.
Thought it would be an awesome opportunity for her to do this NK trial study at Children's specifically for AML patients. I first met Elsie in 2019. She was referred to our trial because she'd had a recurrence of her AML. And she had a really good response, actually. She achieved a remission.
I was in remission for a bit, and then my cancer came back. I went through a second transplant. That one was a little tougher.
It's incredibly difficult to go through one, but then you go through a second transplant and you're sort of adding a hit on top of injury that's already there. But then her disease came back again after that, and she went on to a third stem cell transplant, and that one was from her father that time.
The third transplant was definitely the hardest with all of the side effects she has now. GI issues, she has cataracts.
Months in the ICU, renal failure, so she's on dialysis now. So it's a lot. And it takes an incredibly strong person and strong family and stuff to get through that.
You try to give me drills over here?
Show him.
Oh, I knew it.
I still have a long ways to go, but I'm feeling much better than I was a year ago.
When she hits that 2-year mark, she'll be able to get her kidney transplant and hopefully be done with dialysis.
There's one thing about AML. There's not a lot of trials. There's not a lot of new novel therapies coming out. So I see Elsa sitting here and she's still taking drugs that have been in use since 1970s. And there's no way of changing that because the research isn't coming through. So when Dr. Benarski came, that was like, oh goodness, this is great. This is awesome. And just the resources in general at Children's is amazing.
And that's where resources from Pedal the Cause are critical, because they're willing to invest in you at a time when the research is still very much at the beginning. So I've ridden Pedal the Cause for the last 5 or 6 years as well. And for me, it's one of the best weekends of the fall, because it's this huge community of people who are all gathered there for one purpose, and it's an incredible energy.
From the first night we actually came in for the NK trial, it was kind of like a surprise. We didn't realize we were going to be put inpatient that night, but we were. And from that night on, we have been treated like family. Traveled to other hospitals, but there's no place better, especially for our family and our daughter Elsie, than St. Louis Children's.
Join me at Pedal the Cause on September 21st and 22nd as we pedal together to help create a world without cancer.